Let's go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know where to start. I'm all ready. I got my smile on everything.
We're having we got a new system. We're working out the
good.
kinks.
It's
all right.
Good. Well, look,
it's all good.
At the end of the day, welcome to Sports Tonight. I'm sports producer Scott Pennyman here with the fantastic Ellie. Ellie, how you feeling?
Doing all right. Doing all right. It's the beginning of my week.
Is this the beginning of your week?
Yeah. For once.
See, I don't think enough people understand that, right? I mean, in TV, we all work different sort of crazy schedules and everything, and different people start their week at different times. Well,
or you're me, where depending on the week, it starts at a different time. Like some days I start on Tuesday, some weeks I start on Wednesday.
Now that's different.
Yeah, that's different.
I didn't know it was like that. This is also my Monday, too, if it makes you feel any better. But that's okay. We're sitting here in the middle of the summer, and we have a lot of sports to talk about. There's a lot going on this week. Well, I mean, as far as, so it's not like games being played or anything like that. But when you consider the different things that have taken place in sports over the last week, there's a lot for us to talk about, especially when we're talking about the WNBA in full swing and everything.
And NBA free agency.
NBA free agency is like going crazy right now as far as free agency and player movement, that's like the second season of the NBA, right? I mean, you have the NBA and
just
the playoffs.
never ends.
I guess you could say third season because you have the regular season, then you have the postseason, playoffs. Now we have the off season,
and it just keeps going because there's a week between finals and the draft.
Right, and this year we got the Olympics too. So I mean, that's really big as far as NBA players. So, a lot to talk about there as we dig deeper into sports tonight. But first things first, the Atlanta Dream tonight. Back at home hopefully for them, a much-needed win as the Chicago Sky, a young team, come to town, but with star Angel Reese. So obviously there'll be a lot of eyes on this game tonight. The Dream needs it.
Yeah.
When you look, they've been, like I like to say, they've been on the struggle bus. Losers of 4 their last 5.
Really been missing Ryan Howard.
Yes. I mean, look, in all fairness, like you just said, they're missing Ryan Howard. And in all fairness, how many teams are going to maintain their level of play without their very best player? Not that many.
That's true. That's true.
Not that many. So the Dream is no different from anybody else. Obviously missing their best player, Ryan Howard, because they run so much through her. And, God bless them, having Tina Charles and as valuable as she's been this season for the team, but you can't depend on that game in and game out, given her age, right?
You can't depend on Alicia Gray either, just because, as you said, the Dream were running so much through Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard, to a degree, was irreplaceable.
Yeah,
for that. Like, you can't even pull a money ball and go, oh, we can recreate her in the aggregate.
Yeah,
you can't.
No, there's no duplicating what a star player can do. And talk about star players, there's a rookie for Chicago who I think has a very fair chance to make
Rookie of the month, Angel Reese, baby.
She's rookie of the month, and I personally believe she has a really good opportunity to make an all-star team. It really depends on how the voters feel about her team's position and everything right now, but she broke a WNBA record for double-doubles, 10 consecutive games. The streak is still rolling as far as I can see of double-doubles for Angel Reese, and she's been. Obviously, you have Caitlin Clark, who's been, obviously a rookie sensation, and both their teams are kind of struggling a little bit, but as far as their individual play, if you want to put Caitlin Clark right here, I feel like Angel Reese has been right here. I mean, they're like neck and neck. And I will continue to say, I don't understand how Angel Reese dropped to the 7th overall pick in the draft. I said it draft night.
As a Chicago Sky fan, I am not complaining.
Of course. I know you're happy, Ellie, because you're a Chicago Sky fan and you got a great player to fall to you. But I don't know what the other teams were thinking on the night of the WNBA draft, because I sat right here and I'm pretty sure everybody remembers. I'm pretty sure we had this conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how Angel Reese wasn't taken. Look, I thought she should have went number 2 overall.
Now,
to the Spartans.
In fairness, Cameron Brink was popping off before her injury. Like, she proved herself as, like, worthy of that number 2 pick.
I'm not, and look, this is no shade, Ellie. Ellie, this is no shade to Cameron Brink, right? This is no shade. I felt like Angel Reese, they were a little rough, and she was getting knocked around. They lost a bunch of games to start the season. So, yeah, I think that's the case for all rookies, because there's an adjustment period to the WNBA. There's an adjustment period to pro basketball. But I think we've seen with both Clark and Reese is too good. The Caitlin Clark fans will attack me. The Caitlin Clark fans will attack me. she's not as good as Caitlyn and all that stuff. I'm like,
Magic and Bird, let's go.
right, in this era of social media, why can't two things be true? Why can't Angel be really good at doing what she's doing, and why can't Caitlin Clark be really good at what she's doing?
Yeah, these two, arguably the two biggest names in college basketball coming into the draft, both not necessarily torching the league because they weren't going to do that.
No, of course not.
But doing very, very well for themselves as rookies. Yeah, you got to celebrate them both.
Right. I mean, and look, if who are most people, if you ask most people, who are the two best players that they've ever in basketball? Probably LeBron and Michael Jordan, right? Those would be 1 and 2 on most people's list. So look at their rookie seasons. Michael Jordan, I think, maybe got his team to the playoffs, but they weren't making any serious noise. And LeBron James
was on the Cavs.
Look, I covered
no
those.
Offense.
Well, no, I get it because I covered those Cleveland Cavalier teams in LeBron James years. LeBron James' first 2 years, they didn't even make the playoffs. And he was putting up really good numbers. They got better, but they didn't even make the playoffs. So I don't know why anyone expected Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark to come in and have their teams be championship contenders or really good teams in year one.
Especially since the Sky had the number 3 pick for a reason.
Right, exactly. And the Indiana Fever were picking at number 1 for a reason. They weren't very good, so they needed those rookies to come in and play well. So look, all you Atlanta fans here get a chance to go out to the game tonight, get a chance to watch the game tonight. You'll be able to see Angel Reese in action against the Atlanta Dream. So before the game tonight, Dream head coach Tanisha Wright took to the podium to discuss where her team is at right now going into tonight's game against Chicago and discussing what they need to do to come out with the dub.
Yeah, I like that we're moving in the right direction. We still have opportunities to improve, and so that's what we're focusing on right now. Just continuing to clean up things that make big impacts on the game. And so as long as we continue with that and playing with the effort that we're playing with, and we're getting better through it, then it's a good thing for us.
What do you feel like you took away from the first matchup with Chicago, where you guys were able to come out with a win and better utilize that tonight?
I think our grit. I think when you play a team like that, you have to come out with a lot of toughness and a lot of grit because of how hard they play. Obviously, what they're going to do on the offensive rebounding, what they're going to do in the paint in terms of points in the paint. So there's just a toughness that you have to be able to play with in order to come out with a win against a team like that.
Coach, I just wanted to ask you about Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso. They're two big presence in the paint. How do you combat that, or how do you account for both of them?
Yeah, we got to work our butts off. They're doing an amazing job this year. Kudos to those two young kids who are coming in and impacting their team and impacting the league in the way that they are. So we got to work our butts off. I think we got to do our work early. You know what I mean? If we allow them to establish position late, it's not going to be good for us just because of how they're just really good at that. You know what I mean? We have to rebound the basketball, but it can't just be our posts. Our guards are going to have to help rebound tonight. So our guards should come up with large numbers of defensive rebounding tonight, have our post players try to box out as best as they can, not get pushed under, and the guards help rebound.
And then just a quick follow-up from me. LA made the Olympic team.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I think it's something that, we expect it, but, when you get your name called, anytime you get your name called, it's a sigh of relief and just a great honor to be able to represent your team. So, I wish LA nothing but luck when she goes there and she can represent her country in a special way, represent the dream in a special way, represent herself foremost, and just in such a special way and at the highest and on the highest level. So I'm super excited for her to be in Paris and be an Olympian again.
Coach, obviously Jordan and Maya have come in late in the season. They probably a little bit of an offensive spark plug. What have you seen about them and them getting reps with the team to get used to being with the unit there?
Well, Jordan had been getting some reps, and I think just her presence in general. You know what I mean? She has experience, having played in this league, having 2 championships, playing the point guard position. I think, when you've played that position, you give your team a boost of confidence when that's just something that you do, and I think that's just something that Jordan has done and throughout her career. Her pace, obviously, being able to push the ball. She's still getting her legs up under her, but I like what I'm seeing in terms of pushing the basketball and just really orchestrating things, getting people where they're supposed to be, communicating, leading from that position. Maya has been somebody who we've liked in the past. We like Maya's ability to defend on the perimeter. The fact that, she can make shots, she makes things happen, she makes plays happen just through her effort and her athleticism. And again, Maya is somebody who's capable, another capable ball handler as well. So having Maya, I think, really, really boosts. And Maya's always been somebody that our team has just loved. Her infectious energy, you know what I mean, and just what she brings to our team, just in terms of who she is as a human.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Adam.
I just want to talk about Alicia Gray, just what she's been able to unlock in her shot, going through a bit of a slump, but now just coming alive back-to-back figuring points for you guys in these past 2 games.
Yeah, I think for Leash, like, for anybody, anytime you're going to a slump, like, what helps is you just start to find easier opportunities for yourself, whether it's getting to the free throw line, that's getting in transition and getting an easy hoop. And so I think, and then just staying confident, right? Staying confident in that shot. You put the work in all off season. You put the work in knowing that you're capable of making those shots. So not going away from that, not being scared. I think just finding easier things for yourself, but being confident in the work that you've put in. And trusting that it'll come back. It'll come back to you when it needs to. And so I think what you're seeing in the last 2 games is Leash just trusting the work and continuing to put the work in so she can stay confident in taking those shots. Yep.
Kind of a left field question.
Left field, Jesus.
What is your best Barb story?
That is left field, but she warned me. She warned me. Listen, Barb and I have tons of stories together. We played together. We've been friends ever since. I think one of the best stories, she's going to be mad about this. One of the best stories is in Seattle, I used to leave my door open all the time because Barb used to just always come into my house. And so she has a saying, it's like, I'm in your house. Like, every time she walks in my house, she just starts screaming, I'm in your house. And so one time, I think she came in the house and I was asleep. I was napping. And then I walked out the door and, like, a smell just hit me. And she had been just sitting on my couch, just farting up a storm. Just farting up a storm. And I'm looking at her like, are you shitting me right now? Like, this is not what you're doing right now. And this is all because I used to leave my door open and she used to come in my house all the time. So Barb and I are super comfortable with each other. We've had a long lasting friendship throughout the years, and so she's somebody who's my little ride or die. So
do you still leave your door open?
When I know she's coming. We don't live in the same area now. She lives in Houston and I live here. But like when we meet up and stuff like that, if I know she's coming, yes, I leave the door open and she walks in and says, I'm in your house. So that's one of our good stories.
Hard to follow up, but we got one question on the team. Remember that, Hunter?
That's gonna be the last round. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, just as a coach, how difficult is it to contain a driver as good as Kennedy Carter?
Yeah, I think when you are playing against somebody who has the speed, athleticism that Kennedy has, you have to be very intentional about making sure that you're closing off gaps, because she does an amazing job of taking those seams. Any type of inch that you give her, she attacks angles really, really well. And so we have to rely on our help side. We have to rely on the on-ball defender to try to keep her in front. But really our help side to kind of close up those gaps and make her, once she gets there, become a passer once she gets to the rim, because we have so much help side there.
Awesome. Thank you for your time, bro.
She probably...
I thought it was gonna be the last question.
Hunter put up his hand and I was like, well, he may have a follow-up to the story. I don't know.
Well, she did say I have an offer.
Like we said, the dream getting ready. This will be a pretty good one tonight as they get ready to play. Look, I give them a really good chance tonight. I think I'm going to go ahead and predict them to win this game. I think they win tonight against the because the so Chicago and Indiana to me are two pretty similar teams, right? I mean, they struggle. I mean, as far as they are young, they're talented, but they really haven't figured out how to consistently win yet.
True.
So I think the Dream, they have a veteran team. They have some pieces that can they can vet themselves into a win tonight. That's how you do, Ellie. I mean, like when you have a bunch of veteran players like Tina Charles and Gray, they can vet themselves to a win tonight. And plus they're going to be playing in front of their home crowd. So I like the Dream to win tonight. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They need it in a bad way. They need a W. So I think they'll do what it takes to come through with the win tonight. So let's talk some NBA. Obviously, one of the most anticipated press conferences for a 55th overall pick in the draft that you will ever see. Bronny James introduced along with Dalton, how was it pronounced? Connect. Dalton Connect was their first round pick of the Lakers, but Bronny James, their second round pick, pretty much got all the attention. Let's just be real. Of course, we've never seen a 55th overall pick get this sort of attention, this sort of scrutiny, this sort of breaking down, and this sort of fanfare at a press conference. But obviously, when you're the son of LeBron James and you're getting ready to play your first season in the NBA, and you're getting ready to play with your dad on the same team, it's going to get attention that every other 55th overall pick in the draft did not get. So when you look at the press conference today, it's a couple different takeaways, which is it's really what I've known about Bronny since I've started watching him. Number one, he's mentally well, I'm not going to say mentally because I'm not inside of his brain, but he seems to be prepared for the moment and how he handles things as far as how he handles questions, as far as how he's handling the pressure. You can tell that he's been schooled very well by Pops and his mom.
I mean, his dad is LeBron James. His dad has had to deal with the spotlight for
His entire life.
At least the overwhelming majority.
Yeah, since he was 9th grade. You know?
So
I was there for that.
Yeah, I'd assume that he's got like a front row seat to a media class that any of us would kill for.
Yeah, and just when and I'm pretty sure his dad has told him, like, look, be ready for everything that's going to come your way, because he's going to get all different kinds of hatred coming his way from people who are just jealous that they aren't able to have the same sort of opportunity. Because all I saw on social media all last week was he didn't deserve to be. He didn't play himself into be taking number 55 overall. There were 55th right. There were there were players who deserved to be picked in front of him, and I think we went Isaiah Wong. That was the guy who was drafted 55th overall last year.
I was about to ask.
It was Isaiah Wong.
Could you name the 55th pick?
And I only know this because I looked it up because I was arguing with people all week on social media.
Literally, you cannot see this on air. I literally am looking this up right now because I could not have named it.
Exactly. That's Ellie. The only reason I know that is because I wanted to use it for argument's sake. So I knew who it was. Isaiah Wong only played 4 minutes last year. 4 minutes on an NBA floor. Probably spent most of the season in the G League and playing all different stuff like that. Played 4 minutes. Only played in 1 basketball game. So why is there so much attention being paid to someone who was picked number 55 overall? I don't mind the attention because obviously he's Bronny James and the attention is going to come. But why are we so heavily scrutinizing who the Lakers picked as if they were going to take a player that was going to change the face of the organization at number 55 overall? That guy on most NBA teams, let me tell you, the 55th overall pick for most NBA teams, they don't even make the team most of the time, or they're G League players or they're two-way players. They don't count on those guys really for anything ever.
And people are going to throw, Jokic, Giannis as these, second round picks. Those are the exceptions.
Those are Draymond Green. I mean, Draymond Green was a second round pick, but those are exceptions rather than the rule. Chances are, I'm going to say 90% of guys taken in the second round of the NBA draft barely make a roster, and they're probably off that team's roster in the first 3 seasons of their career, if they last 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah, if they last
in the NBA, right? I mean, a lot of them are playing overseas within 2 years, or a lot of them are in the G League. So from that standpoint, it's much made about nothing. So from this point forward, it's going to be about the work he puts in, the summer league, what he does to prove that he belongs. Because I've even seen people say, well, he doesn't even belong in the NBA, right? He's not even NBA caliber. Well, okay, let's just be real. He played high-level ball at USC. He played Power 5 basketball. He was a McDonald's All-American. You can debate all day about how good he is.
And I think people forget about the cardiac arrest.
Right, that
has to have affected his game.
I mean, because
they forget about the medical issues. I have not seen one person discuss, this is a guy who had a medical issue. Thankfully, he seems to have gotten past that.
Yeah. Right.
And this hasn't affected his game since then.
Right.
But you have to imagine that's in his mind at some point.
For sure. I mean, it affects you mentally, and I'm pretty sure there's a certain amount of it physically it affects you. So he'll be a year back from that. So let's see what he does in his first season as a pro. Again, he won't be counted on heavily. It's not like that they're planning on him to be a starter, but he'll be with the team. And one aspect, too, that people forget is iron sharpens iron. I remember when I was a young kid and I would go to the basketball court, I always liked playing against older players.
You have to.
Right, because that's what made you better. So don't underestimate that aspect too, is that when Bronny's now playing in the NBA, he'll be in practice every day against better players, against, more athletic players than he's ever seen in his life. So what that normally does is that makes you better. That makes you a better basketball player because you're playing with other players. If it doesn't make you a better player, then you weren't meant to do this anyway. But if you're any sort of baller, it's going to make you a better baller because you're around better players. You're talking to better players. Once you get into that
this guy is LeBron James's kid. Come on.
And playing dad in the driveway every day couldn't hurt you either, right? I mean, when you're playing against one of the greatest players to ever play the game of basketball every day, and now you get to face him as your job now. Now it's your job in practice to go against him. And I'm pretty sure LeBron can't wait to go against him. He probably wants to tear him up just to give him a lesson.
I normally don't I'm not super excited about filmed practices. I want to see the film on Lakers practices just to see them one-on-one.
And let's get real. This is also
I just want it once.
Right, and this is also the Lakers. They probably know and understand where they're at right now as far as being a championship contender, but the attention they're going to get just by this situation, I think for them makes it worth it because it keeps them in the public eye. So let's jump to some more NBA news. Obviously, I guess you would say one of the biggest moves of the NBA free agency has been the great Klay Thompson going to the Dallas Mavericks, leaving the Golden State Warriors, breaking up what's been one of the a dynasty. I mean, let's be real. 4 championships.
Obviously, the Warriors have been
about 7 years, maybe.
Not what they used to be for a while. Let's be honest. But this does feel like the end.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I thought last season felt like the end. But see, this is what happens with dynasties, right? I mean, I've been fortunate enough over my life to see some dynasties happen with the Bulls in the 90s, even going back to the Pistons and won back-to-back championships. This is how this ends. It normally doesn't end pretty. It was I guess you could say a pretty ending when the Bulls won their 6th championship and then they all kind of went their separate ways after that. So I guess that was a pretty good ending. But generally speaking, this is how it is. This is how it normally ends. Players get old. They get upset about different things. And in this case, it's going to be Klay Thompson ending his career someplace else. But look, I think he's going to a good spot because I still think he can
I'm surprised it was the Mavs.
You're surprised?
I'm a little bit surprised, yeah.
That was some of the talk before, but I think that's a really good place for him because I think going to Dallas allows Klay Thompson to be his best self.
Yes.
He shouldn't be one of the top 2 players on a team anymore. But when I think about the impact that Klay Thompson could have in Dallas, I would tell people, think about Ray Allen in Miami. When Ray Allen went to Miami.
That's a good comparison,
right,
I think.
Right, and I think that's what he can bring to the Dallas Mavericks. When you think about Ray Allen in Miami, he was a crafty veteran player who had won a championship before that in spots could still look like himself. He had the
shot.
Right, he could still
just immortal moment.
Right, and we saw that huge shot he hit in the NBA Finals. So I think when you think about Klay Thompson's impact on the Dallas Mavericks, I think it could be similar to the impact Ray Allen had with the Miami Heat and those LeBron teams, whereas he doesn't need to be the Klay Thompson of old every single night, but in those specific spots and big moments, he can still look like Klay Thompson. So I think that's what he brings to the Dallas Mavericks. So I think that was one of the best possible spots for him to land this offseason. All right, so we got a couple more minutes left. So the latest installment now, remember many years ago, every NFL team hated to do Hard Knocks. It was like, oh, this is a distraction.
I think they still do.
They may still do, but I tell you what, when HBO pays you money to do it, they're going to find a way to do it. So
when HBO pays you money or the NFL tells you, screw you, you're doing it.
Right, you're doing it. I mean, this is all a part of business, right? So this month premieres, I guess, all month on HBO, on Max, I'm sorry. They're going to have...
don't get me started on that.
Yeah, well, I don't, right. It's just on Max. Let me be sure. I don't want to get sued. But it's just going to be on Max, and they're going to have the Giants this month being featured as far as the offseason. And then when the season starts, it's the Bears, right, who they're doing, which I think is very compelling and very interesting. So I asked my question to you, Ellie, because Hard Knocks has been around since 2001 when it started with the Ravens the year after they won the Super Bowl.
2001?
That's when Hard Knocks started. 2001, they followed the Baltimore Ravens after their Super Bowl season. So I ask you, Ellie, do you think Hard Knocks has kind of jumped the shark? Like, do you think it's still as interesting as it used to be?
If they don't nail this series with the Giants, like, yes, this is the jump the shark moment.
Okay.
This is call me a traditionalist.
Yeah.
Hard Knocks is an in-season show. I'm sorry.
But just think about when it first started, it was a preseason show. It was about training camp and everything. That's how it got its roots and its origins with the Baltimore Ravens and training camp. And then obviously they've expanded it because, you know, this is a new day and age and people want different access. But I just think when I asked if it jumped the shark, back in 2001 when the Ravens started with Hard Knocks, it was access that you had never seen before. It was behind the scenes and everything. Mm-hmm. Well, fast forward to 2024, most teams have their own television production departments. Mm-hmm. They have, I covered the Browns. So the Browns had Hard Knocks back in 2018. So I was on the sidelines with Hard Knocks guys and all that stuff as they were filming the show. But they also have a series called, I believe they call it Making the Browns. I forget what it's called. But they have their own production, Building the Browns. That's what it's called. And so every NFL team has their own in-house production team, and they produce their own in-house content. So we can hop on any one of these teams' websites, and we can see how things are behind the scenes with these teams. So it makes me wonder, is the show aged out a little bit? Because the access that we used to didn't be able to get in 2001 and 2002, we now get in 2024.
At the same time, HBO is not an NFL team, and an NFL team is going to have a certain
message
that they want to put out.
I get it, because it's going to be, the teams want to do everything to make themselves look as good as possible. So there are going to be certain things that they're going to leave out. So I understand that part. Okay. You're right. All right. Okay, so I'm sold. It doesn't take much to sell me on watching NFL content. Let's just be real. So I'm sold.
All right.
I'll watch it.
What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? Wow, that was a upper. I knew it was coming in the show, but I really don't have anything at the top of my brain. So what's on my mind? Hey, we're a few weeks out from NFL training camp. So, I mean, it comes around fast, doesn't it? It seems like everything just ended. And within a few weeks, we'll be talking about teams reporting for training camp and hot days and hitting each other out there with pads and sweating and all that stuff. What's on your mind, Ellie?
A few weeks out from one of my favorite events as a sports fan, the Summer Olympics.
Okay, yeah. Hey, look, I can't wait to see Sha'Carri Richardson. I cannot wait to see, because she was kind of she got booted out the last Olympics, but to see her and how great she could be in these Olympics, I'm with you. I can't wait.
All right, we are out of time. So for Scott Pennyman, I'm Ellie Parker. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.